All right. Well, today we are joined with Alison and John. I think I wanted to include them in the series just because I think they both have a very interesting perspective as it relates to this whole pandemic. Alison is a federal government employee, and John is a player for the NFL. So, thank you both for joining. I appreciate your time this today. Take too long, but I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. Alison, I'll start with you. Then, John, if you want to answer, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But how would you say your jobs have been affected by the pandemic?
I think we've always had pretty generous telework policies, which is, we're thankful for that when he's in season in general. But as far as my workload, I actually have a little more than usual. I think people, around the country have a lot of questions about what's lawful at the local and state level and at the federal level. So the pace has actually kind of picked up for me.
Yeah, and then on my end, there's really no telework, so it's very different. During this time of year, we usually have off-season training programs. They're called like OTAs. They started around April 20th. So now instead we incorporated virtual meetings and even workouts. Personally, it's team by team how they decide to do it. Most teams are going with just virtual meetings, like Zoom, Microsoft Teams. So we have a few times a week. Or we get on calls, we go over what's going on, like weekly updates, and we have meetings with our coaches, different players, going over our playbook for now. They provide us with a working out training app that we use to tally up our workouts. Some teams even have people video their workouts and send them in so they can get their workout bonuses. With us in Atlanta, we just have it to use for our own personal use. We don't have to record it or send it in. They're doing a good job with like sending us equipment that we need.
Wow.
So, and that's the biggest difference for this time slot, because the off-season program usually goes from April to early June. So instead of like just being there, and it's kind of like you ease into it. So it's only meetings for the first maybe 3 to 4 weeks, so it's not too much of a difference now, just that we're not physically there.
Yeah, great. Alison, you had kind of talked about, the teleworking policies at your job. I think people are starting to think about what life is going to look like, what are their jobs going to look like once we're actually able to get back to work. Obviously you being a federal government employee and there being a number of people that, are colleagues that you're sitting next to, what do you think your office is going to have to do in terms of trying to keep up with social distancing requirements, people coming in? Are they going to do a phased approach? Do you have any idea what that's going to look like?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I suspect my office in particular probably won't be back for quite some time, somewhat because our workflow really hasn't been interrupted. I think I have usually 5 or 6 meetings a day that we can do over WebEx is the app that we use, or Zoom. But really it wouldn't make sense to have everyone back on campus and then have 15 people in a room all sitting 6 feet apart.
John, what do you kind of foresee for games, attendance, travel, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, so like we're taken by each approach by different blocks. We'll know more after this block we have going on off-season training. Around mid-May to like late May, we're gonna have reevaluation of if facilities open. Depending on if they decide to do that, we'll know more about the season. It seems at this point, either it will be limited people in the stands, from my personal opinion, probably limited people in the stands, or it gets pushed back. A lot of that is determined upon what kind of on the federal level what they decide to do with sporting venues, because some state by state laws could be different, or they could open up sooner. But for competitive advantages reasons, we want to keep everything the same for every team. So I think we can get a good idea at the end of this month about what we're going to do going forward. But I could really see, if they do have people, it'll be a reduced number in the stands, or maybe playing without them for now. This really up in the air, but we'll maybe get some more indication maybe end of the month. So.
Yeah, I think you actually raise a really interesting point, because Georgia is one of the few states right now that is allowing, to start opening up. So you might be a test case in terms of what's actually allowed. There's a lot of other, states out there that are still, prohibiting a lot of activities, like here in DC, it's kind of that way. So I'll be curious to see how things kind of move forward in the coming months. What are you guys doing to keep yourselves busy and sane during this time?
Well, I don't know that we were ever sane in the first place, but I give a lot of credit to John, truly. I mean, our whole relationship, we spend huge chunks of the year apart. So from my perspective, it's kind of nice to actually get to be together when normally this time of year we'd be apart. But he was a real trooper, hanging in there through party planning. We had a big party planned in April in DC, and a lot of friends and family, and that all fell apart, but I was determined to still do some kind of party. So lots of research into local bakeries, get a nice cake together. We've been cooking a lot, exercising a lot. That's pretty normal for us. Good amount of Netflix. Ozark on Netflix is our go-to. Hunters on Amazon Prime was great. We've been revisiting some board games from our past and card games, so that's been fun, very competitive. Trying to think what else. I think mostly just enjoying that, and probably until we're retired, this is the most time we'll ever get to spend together. So that's been really nice, even just sitting on the couch together. We don't usually get to do that. So
I would say even changing our scenery down here, being in different scenery, like we have more room to like walk around, while like applying the social distance rules, of course, but just being able to working out, have more room to train, running around. So a lot of time throughout the day, like I'm spending a lot of the time working out, and we're watching a lot of stuff on TV, Netflix, and playing like Uno and a bunch of other like random games.
It gets heated.
Yeah, and then I talk a lot like my friends. I still play a few video games, so it's good getting on the game with them, and mainly for social thing, we can catch up. And so I'm trying to be as much normal as I can, and occasional Zoom meetings with friends and family as well.
But we really are grateful. I mean, we're healthy, we're happy, we haven't had any kind of concerns, so we're in a much better situation than a lot of people, and we're really grateful for that.
Well, that's awesome. I really, thank you for the Hunters recommendation. I'm definitely going to, add that to my queue. I have to say that this season of Ozark is probably the best. Without a spoiler alert, I did finish it, and it's pretty amazing. So with that, I will end the interview and say thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all stay safe and sane and well. And for everybody out there watching, if you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover, we're here to cover them for you. Take care.